And we have an Ikariote here,
Yes.
right?
Yes, you can say that, I suppose. I have a difficulty to define my origin, and I think that it's always difficult to define the origin of somebody. But I feel like an Ikarian, and I have many proofs that I am an Ikarian, yes.
How long have you lived here?
Half of my life, more or less. Yes, I came here to start this Greek language school when I was 29. I'm 56 now, so it's a long time.
How is living in an island in the middle of the Aegean, right? Aegean Sea. How is it?
Cool. I don't know, how can I describe it? It's nice, I like it. There are some people that like it, others they don't. I was born in a city, in Athens, but I couldn't live in the city. And most of my friends thought that I was a bit crazy at the time I decided to come here. Yeah. How it is? It's nice. Well, you know, Ikaria is also a unique island. It's the landscape is very dramatic. It's a wild landscape. We have the mountains, high mountains, rich vegetation, and it's a wild place. You feel nature, the changes of the weather. And when I came here, I understood my father was born in this village, but he moved to Athens after the Civil War, like all the people of his generation. He used to say that I miss nature. Nature in Greek means, I think that it's the common, in English it doesn't mean exactly the same thing, nature, the natural environment. I miss, the meaning was that I miss the contact with the natural environment. I miss nature. And I realized that when I came here. I understood what he was trying to say to me when I came here. So this contact with the natural environment is very important for your psychological health, for my psychological health. I wouldn't be, if I had to see the balcony of the neighbor opposite to my apartment, I wouldn't be alive at this moment, I think.
Do you think people here are somewhat more resilient than people living in other places, being an island, being used to be self-sufficient, providing their own food? Because anyway, the city, the biggest city is very far from here, so they must be prepared somewhat.
It's a tradition in Ikaria. We'll see this in the slideshow later. Yes, they are more self-sufficient here, but it comes from their history. It's not because it's an island.
And very shortly, what do they do to be self-sufficient? How do they do? How do they?
They don't only have one profession. Perhaps they are electricians or builders or carpenters, but they also have a garden. They have some goats, or hens, and when they have a job like making a table, they work some days of the week or some hours per day doing their proper job, and they spend a lot of time trying keep the gardens alive, feed the animals. And they also have, they still have in the mountainous villages, they still have a system which is called exchanges. They call it alaxias in Greek. They work for somebody, for a neighbor, and as an exchange, they are waiting to the neighbor to work for them. So they do something for the neighbor. They spend some hours.
It's like the barter trade.
Yes, it's a labor trade, something like
good.
that. And this comes from the past, because in the past, when I say in the past, from the 17th, 18th century and 19th century, people were really poor here, and they didn't have the means to pay somebody to do a job. And also they didn't have goods to buy, so even if they had money, sometimes they were useless because they didn't have goods to buy, and the economy was based on this kind of...
Right. How much of the legend, the old legend, Greek legend, is present today in the island? The Ikaria comes from the Greek character, yes.
Icarus.
Yeah, Icarus, etc.
This is
The labyrinth was invented. The origin of the labyrinth was invented by the father of Ikarius, right?
Icarus, yes, Daedalus, yes.
Daedalus, yeah.
Good question. There are some ancient legends that are still alive. At least there was, because now, after World War II, life changed dramatically. So now people don't say fairy tales. Okay, everybody is watching TV and recently YouTube, also in Ikaria. But before that, there was a fairy tale. It was not something that was written in the books. It was a fairy tale on the island, and the Ikarians used to say that Icarus was drowned in a certain spot of the island, from the other side, the south side of the island. There's a rock very close to the coastline, and they said that this is the spot where Icarus drowned. And yes, this is something that it's alive in the local tradition. Also, they say that there's a cave near the airport, and they say that in this cave Dionysus was born. This is also not in the references. It's not known by the academics. It's from the oral tradition. So there are legends still. They used to be. I mean, they are not anymore alive because nobody. TV and later internet was the end of these stories.
Okay. Thank you for the interview.
Okay.
It's a windy day today. The island doesn't want you to leave. They will miss you very much, guys. Thank you for coming. It was very interesting for me and precious time.
This is a magical place. It's been a magical group of people. I'm glad there weren't so many of us. And I'm really